Welcome back, students. In this session, we'll be continue with the chapter on Akbar. So, last chapter we have covered Akbar's provincial administration, central administration, and revenue administration. In this chapter, we'll be dealing with military administration, religious policy, and Dini-Ilahi. So, military administration, as we can see that Akbar's administration was very organized with efficient officials and he as an administrator was very he was very competent enough, and he was very vigilant about his administration. He kept everything under his control, and he could take care of the administration properly by dividing it into various sectors. So in military administration, it was necessary a military administration because the whole administration was based on military lines, based on the conquest, the based on the acquisitions after military, acquisitions by the military. So he himself was an excellent military personnel. So the administration was mostly based on military lines. So under this system, the people who joined the Mughal services were enrolled as mansabdars and were given a rank known as mansab. So the administration was being controlled by the king himself, but it was divided into mansabdars who were given mansabs, or given a rank. So an officer in charge was given 10 horsemen and was given the lowest rank, and an officer in charge of 7,000 horsemen was given the highest rank. So these were the various ranks which were there in the military administration of Akbar. So they were paid in form of jagirs, like a place, uh, a place, a small territory would be given to the mansabdars or the one in charge, and then whatever revenue they would get from that particular place will suffice their needs, their basic necessities and wants, whatever it is, and those particular income from those various from that particular territory is he would be that particular person would be given the charge of that particular place, and he would be known as the Jagir. So it's from this time only Jagirdari system also started. So the Mansabdars were appointed, promoted, and dismissed by the emperor, and a mansab or a rank was not hereditary. So this was a very important feature, that the rank was not hereditary, and because it was the king could choose whom to make mansabdar, of which place, after consulting the ministers, of course, but it was not hereditary. So Akbar maintained a very long-standing army, which was very well disciplined also. The cavalry was the most important branch, and these troops were mainly supplied by the Mansabdars. A large number of war elephants and a well-organized artillery was also maintained. So the system of branding horses and maintaining descriptive role of the soldiers was adopted by Akbar. So these were the various systems which were included in the military administration of Akbar, which helped him to consolidate his empire as well as expand his empire manifold. So this is about the military administration of Akbar. Then comes the religious policy of Akbar. So Akbar was very Akbar was a Muslim ruler, of course, but he also he gave equal importance to other religions. So he is known as one of the very secular kings of the Mughal dynasty. So his policy of religious tolerance, which was essential condition for nation building, was very important, and one of the remarkable features of Mughal administration under Akbar. So he abolished the pilgrim tax, or the jizya, whatever, which the non-Muslims had to pay. He then took in he took keen interest in religious and policies and social customs of people. So he celebrated the Hindu festivals such as Diwali, Holi, Basant Panchami, along with Parsi festival of Navroz. He appointed Hindus to public services and important positions, and in his court also, as we know from revenue administration and the previous portions, that he had included many Hindu persons, many important Hindu persons as important ministers. Like he gave the charge of important ministry to Hindu personnel, and the name of Todarmal, Raja Man Singh, all of this we can see or we can know from his administration. So he gave equal importance to the Hindus and the Muslims. So Raja Man Singh served as the governor of Kabul. Raja Todarmal, Birbal, and other Rajputs held important positions of power and influence. So it is also we also know that he adopted the marriage diplomacy in the form of diplomacy which he had adopted was the marriage policy also with the Rajput states, which helped him to have control over the Rajput kingdoms, have diplomatic relations with them, as well as get those Rajput states include the Rajput states in his military, so that he could expand his territory. Then he could also use the brave Rajput soldiers who were known for their bravery and war tactics in his own army. So this was a clever move, and also he gave important positions to the Rajput rulers as well as the Rajput princes. He had secularism was one of the important practices which was followed in his administration. He developed the idea of suequal. This means universal peace, which was secular in outlook and did not discriminate between people of different religions. So he wanted to establish a secularism, the concept of secularism in his administration and in his territory, by inviting different people of different religion. Now, Din-i-Ilahi. So Akbar built a spacious hall which is known as Ibadat Khana. Ibadat Khana means a place where you pray. In his new capital Fatehpur Sikri, known as Ibadat Khana, where he could hold religious and political discussions. So he invited many scholars of many religions like Hindus, Jains, Christians, Islam scholars to take part in the discussions. So they exchanged ideas freely, and the king also took part in the discussions. So the comparative study of different religions at Ibadat Khana led Akbar to form the Din-i-Ilahi, meaning the divine faith. So this was a concept which was started by Akbar himself, which included many ideals from the different faiths or the different religious faiths or religious ideas, and combined together the Din-i-Ilahi forms, which means the divine faith. So it was formed in 1582. It was more of a social organization, brotherhood and code of conduct than a religion. So he wanted to unite the people under Din-i-Ilahi, which would overlook the religious communities they belong to, while they will enhance social organization, brotherhood and a code of conduct among the people. So it had no holy book, no dogmas, practically no religious belief, no body was forced to accept the faith. So this brought people belonging to different faiths closer closer to each other, and created a spirit of religious tolerance among the people. But after Akbar's death, this concept of Din-i-Ilahi faded out, and main features of Din-i-Ilahi were to believe in one supreme God. So they did not believe in different religious faiths or different religious communities which would believe in different gods, but they would believe that there is one supreme power or one supreme God, and the basic purpose of the formation of Din-i-Ilahi was universal harmony. He wanted to establish peace and harmony in his empire. So he started this idea of tolerance in his faith, which did not discriminate the people in terms of religious communities, and it focused on a system of ethics like peace, justice, honesty, which were universally applicable. So this is about the concept of Din-e-Ilahi, which is the universal peace which the people should follow. It is not forced upon them, but the people should follow this in order to establish universal peace, and by keeping in mind the important ideals of justice, peace, honesty, etc. So this is about these three portions which we covered today. In the next class we'll cover the rest of this chapter, so that we'll be done with this chapter. So that will be all. Go through this portion and we'll be discussing whatever doubts you have in the next online class, and the rest of the chapter will be completed in the next class. Thank you.